Here I am, the beginning of the epic journey. Seoul to Busan on a Gotway MSX. Last time I did this trip it was 536 kilometers. This time I expect it to be about the same. I have no idea if I'm going to make it or not. We'll just have to see how things go. First, let me talk a little bit about the route. Korea has, in my estimation, some of the best bicycle paths in the world, at least the best that I've ever seen. They stretch all the way from the northwest corner of South Korea in Incheon, all the way down to Busan, down the east coast. There are branches going out to the west coast. And in pretty much every major city you'll see in Korea, there are bike paths built along the river. The network of bike paths is absolutely amazing in Korea. So, my planned route is from my starting point at my house in Seoul to the terminus of the main bike route to Busan, which I estimate to be about 536 kilometers, maybe 46. Last time I did it, it was 536, but I stopped short to hop on the subway. This time, well, we'll see how it goes. My plan is to do about 175 kilometers a day. I'm hoping I can do that with one full recharge, maybe one partial recharge. We'll see how it goes. If I can't do that, hey, I'll take 4 days. Whatever it takes. It's Busan or bust. My plan is to run at about 20-25 kilometers an hour for maximum efficiency. I've done some pre-testing on my range, and I estimate I can get between 70 to 80 kilometers per charge at those speeds. I haven't run it all the way down to 0 yet, so I'm not sure. I'm running a high tire pressure. Usually I run about 32. I'm running about 35 to get better mileage. It makes the wheel a bit less stable, as you all know, but it's a small price to pay for the extra mileage I hope to get. And besides, I don't plan on running fast. I want to run at a conservative pace, maximize my battery. They say everybody's going to crash on an EUC. Oddly, I haven't crashed yet. I've been riding since 2015. The first wheels I rode were 9x1 E pluses and some other kind of wheel, which I forget. This is one of the park areas inside Seoul. They've really done a good job with these riverside parks in Korea, not only in Seoul but throughout the country. Amazing amount of recreational infrastructure in this country. I'm very impressed. Not like it used to be. You can see down here we've had some flooding recently from the monsoons, which are over now, hopefully. But the water levels are still high. Probably 80% of my trip is going to be on bike paths similar to this. The other 20% is where the bike lane shares a road with cars. However, they've done a good job on that as well. Those places where they do share the bike lane with the roads are not heavily used, very quiet country roads, and really I feel no danger at any part of this bike path between Seoul and Busan. No danger at all, not like riding on the side of the road. It's a very peaceful experience. In preparation for this ride, as I said before, I did some range testing. I also bought a seat for my MSX, which I intended to test before coming out on this trip, but I never really had the chance. So I've got a seat, it's on the MSX, and I've never used it. This is going to be my first. We'll see how it goes. I also made some homemade power pads at the last minute. They're kind of chintzy looking, but they seem to work fairly well. They help. During my range testing, I discovered the one thing that's going to get me if I don't make this trip, and that's going to be leg numbness. There's not much you can do about it. Your legs kind of have to stay in position. I've been practicing moving my legs one at a time, putting the weight on my right leg and moving my left, and then switching to the other. But no matter what you do, standing on this thing for 8 hours a day is going to become tiring. The only other thing that could get me on this is inability to charge, although I've scoped out the charge points the last time I made this trip, and I think I have a pretty good handle on where I can charge. or a catastrophic failure of the machine. If I get a flat tire, it may be the end of the trip, but it won't be a big hassle. I'll simply push the machine to where I can get a taxi, hop on a subway, and head home. Simple as that. I don't have any tools with me, so if I get a flat tire, I can't disassemble it and repair the tire. Maybe I can get some slime, but I'm just keeping my fingers crossed, hoping I don't get a flat tire. I've got probably 1,000 kilometers on this machine so far, and I've never had a flat. In fact, I've never had a flat on any of my EUCs, so I'm hopeful. So back to preparation for the trip. I bought a PIMS rapid charger, which I'm really happy with. It's very well made, seems to work great. Charges 84 volt, 1 to 5 amp, adjustable. You can also adjust the percentage of charge, you know, 60%, 80%, 100%. And I did some testing with that. At 5 amps, I can go to full charge from 20% in about 2.5 hours at 5 amps. So we'll see how this works out. The problem is it's super heavy. It makes up the bulk of the weight in my backpack. This is a really cool part of the trail. What they've done is taken the old railroad track and converted it to a bicycle path. So these are the old railroad tunnels from 100 or more years ago. It's really a scenic route with a lot of interesting things along the way, like this. So I'm at my first break at 40 kilometers, 57% battery remaining. Called Nungneyok. As I mentioned, this is they've converted the old railroad track into a bike path, and this is the old railroad station. It's really cool what they've done. They've made a little tiny museum and a restroom in there, and then behind me there are some restaurants, shops, etc. There's one of the old train cars converted to a cafe. Originally I indicated this building as one of the spots where I could charge, but at 57%, I think I'm just going to go for it. Take a quick break and then head out again. Here's a better look at my homemade power pads. I know. Pretty cheap looking, but they help. We'll see how it goes. This is where we cross the river and head towards Yangpyeong. The bike path splits here, and that direction goes towards Chuncheon, which is about 114 kilometers from my house. It's quite a trip for a one-day round trip. And I think we're about 15 kilometers outside of Yangpyeong. Yangpyeong is where I intend to buy a sandwich and recharge over lunch. And again, this is the old railroad. So this is the old railroad bridge that they've converted to a bike bridge. One characteristic of riding in Korea, every half hour there's a place to stop and get a coffee. There are public restrooms everywhere, convenience stores everywhere. I don't have to carry much in the way of water or supplies because I can stop anywhere and get something to drink or a snack. Long distance rides like this are exercises in survival. It's not about how fast you can go or passing the guy on the bike or anything like that. It's about, can you survive? You want to do everything within your power to survive the trip. That means alleviate the leg numbness frequently. Maximize your battery by going at moderate speeds. Avoiding crashing, and that's one of the problems with long trips like this. When you're standing on the wheel or a bicycle or whatever for 8 hours a day, even a motorcycle, you become desensitized. You sort of enter a zombie state. Whereas if you're out for a 1 hour ride and you see a bump in the road, you're going to avoid it. But when you become desensitized, you're 8 hours on the wheel, your legs are numb, you can't see the bumps in the road all the time. And if you do hit a bump in the road, your legs aren't going to react fast enough because they're numb and they're desensitized. You become basically like a zombie. So, the plan is to survive, avoid becoming desensitized, and make it all the way from Seoul to Busan. So I'm at the first break, 68 kilometers, 36% battery remaining. It's rather impressive. I think I could do another 20 kilometers, maybe hit 90 kilometers total. But I found an opportunity to charge, and things are pretty desolate from here on out. I don't want to take any chances. Now the river is really opened up. I'm just south of Yangpyeong at about 76 kilometers, and there's still some houses along here, but it's getting a little more isolated. This is what it's going to be like for the rest of the trip. So I did my first charge from 36% to 100%. Took 2 hours and 15 minutes or so. And as it was ending the charge, I realized, and I had forgotten this, that it's much faster to charge the first 80%. And then after that, it takes a lot. It's a slower charge rate after 80%. And I saw that while watching the charger. It went from 83.9 volts at 5 amps, and then slowly the amperage was dropping down as it was decreasing its charge rate for the last 10 or 20%. So I think the solution is charge to 80% each time. Do a bunch of quick charges rather than a few long charges. Now we're getting a little bit more out in the country, a little more isolated. You can tell because the grass and shrubs are not as well maintained out here. Anyways, I've got about 78 kilometers to go to my destination for today. It's written on the road here, 79. And that's to Chungju. That'll put me at about 170 kilometers for the day. Hopefully I'll get there before dark, but if not, I'm prepared. This thing's got a decent light and I've got a headlamp.
Speed 28 kilometers per hour. Distance 21 kilometers, 900 meters. Battery 75%. Phone battery 89%. 55 minutes from start.
They built these dams to relieve the flooding problem, or to control the flooding problem, and while doing so built the bike paths. You can see across the river there's a big facility there. There's a coffee shop, convenience store, probably a restaurant. Now we're coming through Yeoju, and here's a tourist ship made to look like an old Korean style ship, but it's really not. Yeoju has a really nice park, if I recall. Oh yeah, here it is. Nice coffee shop and restaurant there. An old Korean style ship. Here I am at my second charge break, which is the Hangang Munhwagwan. There's a nice little park here. A lot of families out enjoying the park. I'm going to be crossing that bridge on the way out of here. And I've stopped at a nice little riverside coffee shop for a cup of coffee while I'm charging. I'm at 101.3 kilometers, 67% charge. Hopefully this will be my last charge of the day. This should take me all the way into Chungju. I've come 161 kilometers today. The time is about 9:30 p.m. and my battery is probably in the 20% range. I've still got to find a hotel after I come through this park here, but I'm gonna make it, and it looks like I will have made it on 3 hours worth of charge during the day. One 2-hour charge and one 1-hour charge. Not bad.